So there is a huge update on Social Security. Top Democrats in the Senate are now proposing a brand new bill that will help millions of Social Security recipients. The extra financial aid may be going out soon as this month. Congressional leaders can agree to one thing. It is that Social Security needs to be fixed before the program's funds are unable to pay full benefits in 2035. Leaders from both the Republicans and the Democrats have each recently discussed the issue on Capitol Hill. That was prompted in part by the release of the annual Social Security's Trustee Report, which include the new projected 2035 date for when the program's combined funds will become depleted. At that point, 80% of benefits will be payable. The new date is 1 year later than projected last year, yet the program still has a 75-year deficit. The House Republicans held a meeting last week to discuss their contention that Democrats' harmful proposal fails to put Social Security programs on a sustainable footing. Representative Kevin Brady, Republican leader of the House Ways and Means Committee, told his colleagues Republicans want to protect Social Security for current beneficiaries and future generations, and if possible, save Social Security once and for all. Now, that followed a June Senate hearing that coincided with the proposal of a new bill to reform the program put forward by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Sanders said at the hearing, "Our job is to not cut Social Security, it's not to raise the retirement age, as many Republicans want us to do. Our job is to expand Social Security so that Americans, everybody, can retire with the dignity that he or she deserves." Now, to fix the program, lawmakers have a choice of raising taxes, cutting benefits, or a combination of both. Democrats' proposals firmly advocate for tax increases, while significantly increasing benefits. Now, the plan calls for raising payroll taxes, which are used to fund Social Security, in order to make benefits more generous. Currently, workers and employers each pay 6.2% on wages of up to $147 grand. Now, one Democratic plan proposed by John Larson is the Social Security Trust Act. It would reapply payroll taxes starting at $400,000 and up. The plan put forward by Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders would reapply those taxes at wages over $250,000. But Republicans at both hearings indicated that those tax proposals were non-starters. In a recent meeting, Republican House leaders emphasized the negative effects higher payroll taxes may have on small businesses. Lindsey Graham said, "If you think taxing the wealthy is going to save Social Security, you're wrong." Instead, Graham said the wealthier may have to take a little less in benefits. In addition, Graham said that the retirement age will likely need to be raised for younger people who are living longer. At the Senate hearing, Mitt Romney emphasized the need for bipartisanship. Romney said if we don't come up with a bipartisan solution, we're not going to save it. Romney's proposed a bipartisan bill called the Trust Act. It would create a bipartisan committees to come up with changes to resolve the program's issues. Advocates for expanding the program complained that it could lead to decisions to benefit cuts that happen behind closed doors.
Okay, welcome everybody. And first I want to thank everyone who's here, someone who was just a stalwart leader on this issue for years, with her persistence, her intelligence, and her passion. This you can say for sure it wouldn't have happened if Kirsten Gillibrand hadn't taken the lead. I want to thank my colleague Senator Graham. He really stepped up to the plate and understood how important this was, and as he said, convinced businesses that this is good for business as well. And that's why we're able to move this amazing legislation by a voice vote, which meant no one was opposed to it. And in part, that's good credit to Lindsey Graham and to Joni Ernst, who helped so much on this legislation as well. And
in Colorado, Governor Jared Polis previously signed legislation that is going to provide residents with a tax rebate. The state's Department of Revenue announced in an official statement that the governor signed a new law to give Coloradans a tax rebate of $750 for individual filers and $1,500 for joint filers this summer. This law will provide immediate relief to Coloradans by sending you a check this summer instead of spring 2023. The Colorado Department of Revenue is working hard to make sure that residents get the right tax refund as soon as possible. According to the state's Department of Revenue, for residents who received an extended tax filing deadline of October 17th, the tax rebate check will be received by January 31st, 2023. Other states have also signed similar legislation, including Georgia, Delaware, Idaho, and Indiana. Now, breaking news, everybody. Senate Democrat Joe Manchin is upset at Senate Minority Mitch McConnell for opposing the new changes on President Biden's economic agenda. Top Democrats in the Senate are now revising a new version of the Build Back Better legislation. The lawmakers would like to see a monthly benefit boost included to the bill. Top Democrats in the Senate are now revising a new version of the Build Back Better legislation. The lawmakers would like to see a monthly benefit boost included to the bill. And today, Joe Manchin said on top that he's not dissuaded by warnings from the top Senate Republican leader to sink a bipartisan bill that would only strengthen the U.S. economic competitiveness. Manchin told reporters, "I'm not walking away if I can help the country, and if they want to play politics and play party politics, shame on them." Manchin added it was so wrong of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky to issue warnings to sink the bipartisan legislation, which would only boost the federal investment on emerging technologies like computer chips. The Kentucky Republican reiterated the ultimatum and tied to recent Democratic efforts to pass Biden's economic agenda. And during a speech on the Senate floor, McConnell said, "Party line scheming is going to crowd that out. Our side cannot agree to frantically steamroll through bipartisan talks in order to meet a timeline, so our Democratic colleagues can clear the decks to ram through a party line tax hike." McConnell warned and wanted to sink the bill as Democrats make progress towards clinching a deal with Manchin on a climate and tax economic spending package. But a spokesperson for Chuck Schumer said last week that Democrats plan to convene an all-senators classified briefing for the bipartisan bill. Republicans and Democratic negotiators have spent months negotiating on the bill to shore up the domestic semiconductor industry among other sectors in an effort to reduce the U.S. dependence on imports of important products. Experts say Biden's economic package could include around $1 trillion in new spending. These ideas would require a range of tax increases to fund them. These taxes would mostly hit businesses, owners, and corporations, at least according to the current proposals that lawmakers are considering. And Sam Runyon, Manchin's communications director, told Yahoo News in a statement that Senator Manchin insists that any final deal addresses inflation.
Pinch of inflation, and all Americans are feeling this hurt. And just recently, I've heard stories about folks that are actually taking their goods, their jewelry, their electronics to pawn shops so they can get additional money to pay for gas. You know, this is really hurting the American people. And those pawn shop owners, one in particular in southwest Iowa, said that folks are just volunteering forward, that, you know, they don't have to say why they're pawning their household goods, but they are telling him that they need it for gas money. This is what Iowans are resorting to. Their wages are not keeping up with inflation, and we have an administration right now that simply doesn't care. And what is the Democrats' response to the economic hardship that not just Iowans but all Americans are facing? Is to raise taxes on them. They're pushing this